it. And I need one guy. Can I get one boy? This is your lucky day. Come on, son. I want you right in the middle. Matthew chapter 5, you got it? Matthew chapter 5. It's in the New Testament. Matthew chapter 5. You're doing great. You want me to help you? There you go. Great. Chapter 5, real quick. Find chapter 5. Chapter 5, chapter 5. You got it? Read verse 3, please.
Verse 3. Blessed are those who are poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven.
Now, watch. You're about to hear 8 amazing pronunciations of blessing upon our life. How many of you want God to bless you in 2009? So she just read the first blessing. Would you read verse 4?
Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted.
Would you read verse 5?
Where is it?
Chapter 5, verse 5.
Blessed are the meek, for they will
The
meek, for they will inherit the earth.
And verse 6.
Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness.
Now you've got verse 7, but hold it. Verse 8.
Okay, give me a second to find it.
You're doing awesome. How many of you know they're about to throw up here? You need to, come on, show a little mercy out there. All right, you know which verse you're doing? Verse 8. Verse 8. You got it? Ready? Here it goes.
Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God.
Now, don't be nervous. You're on God TV, Daystar, and TBN. Don't be nervous. Verse number 7, 8, 9. You're verse 9.
Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called sons of God.
You need to do it again. I held the mic. Blessed are the what?
Peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God.
And you have 7, 8, 9. You have verse 10.
Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven.
And the last verse, what verse did you have? 7, 8, 9, 10. You've got verse 11.
Blessed are those when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all the kingdom of evil against you because of me.
Now watch. You've got 4 blessings over here. Weren't they great blessings? You've got 4 blessings over here. But come here, right smack in the middle. Come here, son. Matthew chapter 5 and verse 7.
Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy.
Did you catch that? Right in the middle. You know what? You know what God says right in the middle of our preaching, right in the middle of our churches. Make sure in all the stuff that you're believing and all the stuff that you're asking God for, if you want the blessings, be a merciful person, be a merciful pastor, be a merciful teacher, be a merciful singer. Show mercy to people. Keep mercy in the middle of everything that you do. Thank you so much. I need you and you to stay up here, and the rest of you go sit down. Stand right here. You're going to help me. You're doing great. If they'll put up Micah 6 and 8, I promise I'll quit doing this in just a minute. But Micah 6 and 8, if they'll put it up. Micah chapter 6 and verse 8. The Lord has shown you, old man, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? All right, say this. He lists 3 things. Say, to do justly.
To do justly.
And then he says something else on the other side. He says to walk humbly. Say, to walk humbly.
To walk humbly.
But right in the middle, he says to love mercy.
To love mercy.
So he's saying, if you want to know what I require of you, you don't have to be a great preacher to have a successful ministry. You don't have to be a superstar to be someone that God can use. But if you will have mercy in the center of everything that you do, a heart that bleeds for hurting, broken people, God says, I can raise you up and you can touch the world for Jesus Christ. Thank you so much. You did great. God bless you. You know, I read the story in the New Testament, the pool of Bethesda. Bethesda means the house of mercy. And how that it had 5 porches, and the 5 porches represent the 5-fold ministry. The apostle, the evangelist, the prophet, the pastor, the teacher. And the scripture said there was a man that was lying there that was crippled and beaten up by life. For 38 years he lay there paralyzed beside the pool of Bethesda, or the pool of mercy. And when he was asked by Jesus, "Why are you laying there?" his reply was, "I have no man to put me in the water." The job of the fivefold ministry, we who are building churches and ministries, is to reach down to people who've been beaten up and broken and wiped out, and not kick them and not judge them and not stomp them and not spit on them and tell them how bad they are, but pick them up and put them and baptize them into the mercy of God. That is our job. That is our calling. I thought about how that back in the 1700s, the Bible was translated only in Latin. Now, of course, we have the King James Version today, and it's from the Greek and Hebrew, and it is a great translation. But the Latin translation, only the priest back in those days would get to even read the scripture, and it was a Latin translation, which was very different. Many words meant different things than what they translated it in the Latin language. Now listen to me carefully. During that time, Michelangelo was alive, and he was a great artist. And do you remember the story when Moses came down off of the mountain, and the Bible said his face shone with the glory of God, and they had to cover his face? Well, in the Latin Bible, they misinterpreted that scripture, and they said when Moses came down off of the mountain, instead of translating like it should have said, the glory of God was upon his face, it said he had horns coming out of his head. Therefore, Michelangelo, every time he painted or did a sculpture of Michelangelo, and I think they've got some pictures of what I'm talking about, you will notice that's not a bad hairdo. He's got horns. That's Moses. That was done by Michelangelo. He's got horns coming out of the top of his head. Why? Well, because somebody got the wrong translation and decided to make a painting or a sculpture into something that it really wasn't. I got to thinking about that. That's what we do to one another. If we're not careful, we'll hear something about somebody, and then we take our Latin translation, and by the time we get through with it, we painted horns on that person. We've turned them into a little devil. I've seen entire denominations do this to one another. Just because we don't believe on everything, just because we don't see eye to eye, we need to quit painting horns on one another. Turn to somebody and say, Moses did not have horns. Maybe you don't raise your